This
and
conference
start
will now be
the
recorded.
program.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So we're going to be covering opposing viewpoints, which is a Gale database, points of view reference center, which is from EBSCO. Those are going to give you everything from current issues for them to browse to a variety of formats of information. So if they're doing anything from, whether or not stem cells should be used in medicine, or whether or not there should be sanctuary cities, or anything in between, there are going to be just a lot of content there, both your textual information, images, charts, graphs, and a variety of resources there. The literature section that we'll move into, we're going to first highlight the Shakespeare Center that you will find in Bloom's literature. That just makes things so much easier for you and the teachers at your school to be able to have videos, criticism, play overviews, sonnets, and full text of the plays just at your fingertips there. The other beauty of all of these resources is they will have credible citations. They have credible sources with really easy to locate citations. So they're not kind of all over the web, hoping they've got something, not sure what they have, not sure how to cite it, and those kinds of things. We'll also look at SmartSearch, where you can actually search multiple databases using this interactive feature. And then I'll just touch on the reference and writing tools that you will find in our new Writers Reference Center that we just acquired this summer, along with our Literary Reference Center. So first we're going to start off with that argumentative writing piece. And I'm just going to escape out of my PowerPoint for a moment to show you live. Everything is accessed from our scdiscus.org site. I'm just going to go out to the main page for you to see that. And you're going to see that we have an A to Z list that lists out all of the databases in alphabetical order that we currently use with our K through 12 students. You can also go by grade level. So if you just want to jump straight into high school and see those databases that are available, sometimes that's easier. If you have your students doing a project or working on something together, just to kind of have them live in that section that's relevant to them. And then finally, there is the by subject that you see here at the top, literature and language arts. So those are going to break down all K through 12. So we're going to be primarily working from grade level since it's easier just to sort of access them that way. What you find with SmartSearch, which is the tab that is now highlighted here in green, SmartSearch is going to be an interface that searches across several databases. And that's what we're going to look at as well. So I'm going to jump into grade level high school here. And we're going to look first at our opposing viewpoints in context. And you are going to love, love, love this database, whether you are a Google-based school or a Microsoft-based school, whether your students are saving to Google Drive or saving to Microsoft OneDrive. You're going to love how this functions and works for them. I'm just going to jump quickly back into this browser here. Think it'll go a little faster. I hope it will go a little faster. We'll find out. So we're going into opposing viewpoints. This is great for your, like I said before, pro-con papers, argumentative papers, anybody who is working on a debate. There are a lot of debate topics as well that you'll find in these databases. And I'm trying to see what the slowdown is here. Let me see if I can get this to load. Looks like we have a little traffic jam on the internet. There we go. So you can see if you've used opposing viewpoints over the past year, you'll notice that this summer, some of the layout of the screen is a little different. They have added this section of little sticky section that stays there for you, so it's always easy to get back to. In the past, everything was along the right side. This seems to be much more conducive to those one-to-one learners who have a Google Chromebook, iPads and such, because it's more geared toward the mobile format rather than having to scroll side to side. They're doing a lot more scrolling just downwardly, which seems to be easier for them. The very first thing I want to show you in opposing viewpoints, though, is this browse issues that you see here in the navigation bar with the little light bulb. Browse issues is a great place to start if you have students coming into the library, they're assigned to do an argumentative paper and they have no idea where they want to start. As you can see, there are hundreds of topics that are available. You'll see indications throughout of updated subjects. You'll also see new subjects that have been added, such as school start times as a subject of debate. These are all just in alphabetical order that are listed here. You will also notice, as I mentioned about the debate topics, we do have a good bit of the national debate topics that are now included as far as issues to browse here as well. If any of you have any questions as we go along, please do type in chat there. If you see something or you need me to repeat anything or need information there. So the nice thing about this is if a student has no idea what they want to write on, they can browse and maybe look at the fake news on social media. They might want to look at aid to foreign countries. They might be interested in some of the alternative medicine. So you can see they can browse these directly and just sort of begin to get their feet wet about what some of the issues are and what they might be interested in. Teachers can also use this list if they want to just maybe select 5 different topics and have the student choose from 5 rather than from hundreds, as you see here. So if I'm just going to go down to one to show you when we click on one of these new ones, such as school start times. Often with the newer ones, you're not going to get as many results as you will with those obviously that have been around for a while, but you'll always get a great overview of the topic, which is what you see here. And when we click on the read more button, this will usually tell them a little historical background of the topic. It will pull out some of the key pros and cons, arguments for and against the issue. And then it goes into more detail throughout the article to help to get them to start thinking about some of the topics related to the issue, as you see here. And if it is relevant to the topic, there will be economic considerations, political considerations, social considerations, especially for the one with social media. So that overview is just a really great place to get your students to start. You can also, they can actually use the Google Drive that you see here just above the article. They can share it and save it to their Google Drive or to their OneDrive if they're Microsoft based. And you'll also see as we scroll down on the right, there are related subjects, there are related articles that go along with this topic. And if the student goes back to the previous page, they're going to be able to just scroll down below that overview. And you'll see here, there are 4 viewpoint articles, pro and con, which you see here on the left. These are the featured ones. That's actually a total of 9, and viewpoints here on the right. And then they can click on any of these if they specifically want a related video, a magazine, if they're required to get different types of information, or they can scroll through and see all of the reference related articles, statistics articles, such as start times for public schools in the United States there. So this database is also very useful for training your students on data literacy, where they can really learn to read charts and graphs that are related to their research topics. And then there are images that are available there. And if there are any audio, perhaps there might be a morning show or something on NPR. This particular one is All Things Considered. If any of those are available, they're going to be found in the little bucket for audio there. Notice there are over 396 news articles and 54 magazine articles. And all of these are located in one location. And the student is going to easily be able to kind of browse through the articles and see if they're relevant to their angle that they're writing about for their topics. So that's sort of the content that they'll find. And they would easily be able to just click on any of these. This one is one of the Viewpoint articles that I mentioned that's going to pose a point. They're going to be able to get, statistical information and quotes that they can use here. And one of the other beauties of opposing viewpoints is that they can actually mark up, they can actually go through and highlight pros and cons. When they highlight the text here, as you see in the gray box that pops up, they can highlight like all the pros in one color. If there's something that's a con, and I'm not really actually reading it now, but of course they would be, they can actually do some of this critical thinking piece as they go and mark up the sections that are pro or con, or perhaps a section that is a good quote for a demographic or for a percentage that they might want to use in a speech or in a paper. And the beauty of it is if they are already logged in to their Google Drive, they're going to be able to take this right up to the top of the article and click on the Google Drive to send it to the Google Drive. If they're not logged in, as you see here, I'm not currently logged into mine. They can at this point log in. If you get the privilege to be able to teach them this from the get-go, it's just a really good policy to get them to log in first before they do anything else. So I'm just going to jump into mine up here and try to log into mine. And I'm just going to go ahead and log into the state libraries one here. But if you do get the privilege of teaching this from the get-go, there is a place at the very top of the database where you can have them already log in. So if I go back to my Gale page and I now click on the Google Drive, same is true for the Microsoft OneDrive, I can now go in and choose the account that I want to log into. And what you'll find is that it'll say documents have been sent to Google Drive and will appear shortly. So that's if they're already logged in. That's nice because they won't get that barrier that I got in my face when I first clicked on it because I was not logged in to my, my Google Drive. What you'll find when you go out to the drive is you're going to be able to look into Gale in context, opposing viewpoints folder that will be placed onto your drive. And you'll be able to find any of the articles that they've pulled from opposing viewpoints will have saved in alphabetical order by title there. So you can click in to that folder. And you can see where we have extended time school benefit students. Notice this is the great part, where they highlighted their highlights. stays with it. So it's actually saving to their Google Drive or to their OneDrive along with those highlights. So if they go home, they sleep at night, and they say, oh, where did I find that really good quote? Or, oh, I needed to find all of my pros, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to have the entire article there on their drive, and they're also going to have that source citation information handy right there for them. And then if they've made any notes on their text, their notes would appear down here. So if I go back into the Gale in context and I highlight something here, and I do perhaps put a highlight color, but I add a note, see the gray note there toward the bottom of your screen. They can then say, find another quote like this, or they can say, research this topic more, and make notes to themselves as they go through this, or they can just say, add this to conclusion or something, if they just want to make a note such as that to themselves. And then they hit save there. And if they go back up and save this article, they're going to be able to have all their notes with it as well. So they'll have their notes, they'll have their highlighting to help easily see what was key in that article. And that's a great feature for them to be able to use in organizing their thoughts and the research progress, and sometimes just critically thinking about the issue themselves. As they learn more, they can kind of ask more questions about the issue. So those are three great parts about these. Notice at the top, back into that sticky bar, I have the cite with the quotation mark, the send to, the download. So if all I want to see quickly is the citation to it, here is the MLA 8th edition for this particular article in the database. You can obviously also change it to APA if you're working with this and perhaps students are, in sciences or biology are using a different format, but MLA is usually pretty standard for the students. Are there any questions about what you've seen on that piece? And I'll continue to check chat there and make sure that I scroll down so I can see anything that might appear. Because you are certainly welcome to ask questions as we go through, or if there's anything you need repeated, I'll be glad to do that as well. Okay, I don't see anything at the moment over there. So that is the first great part about Gale opposing viewpoints. But notice too, there's actually a direct search at the top. So if maybe they already know their topic and they don't really need to go through browsing issues first. If they are looking up sanctuary cities or another topic, notice they can just go and directly search as well on their topic. They're the overview that they would get here. I'm not sure if I've clicked something too quickly here, but you can see with sanctuary cities, we still have all the breakout of our statistical sources, our magazine sources, etc. So if they want to go directly into one of these, they could certainly do that just by clicking the one of interest. So I've clicked on magazines now. You will notice that there are red boxes, blue boxes, etc. These are corresponding to Lexile levels. So just this summer, Gale started adding the Lexile level to these articles, and you would be able to see from the main screen, you'll be able to see which of these boxes are which level, and you can also just hover over it. So level 5 is red, the purple one is level 4, and you can also see by stars. So 3 is level 3, not as difficult as well. And then certainly they can go in and click on an article here. And once again, they have that ability to mark it up, make their notes, and then send it to one of these drives. They can also email it as well if they wish to do it that way. So one last feature that I wanted to mention, I barely mentioned it before. If you do have the opportunity to show them how to use this before the teacher lets them loose using it, at the very top, you're going to see the beside change databases, you're going to see where they can sign in with Google or Microsoft right up there at the top. And if you can just get them in the habit of signing into that first, then they won't have to have that barrier like I did of having a prompt to come in and say, you know, where do you want, which account do you want to save this to, or log into your account. They can already be logged in and seamlessly share those docs to their drives. So the last thing I wanted to mention with this, and I'm just clicking on the top to get back to the browse issues section. I wanted to also show you again those national debate topics there on the left. So if you do have students who are doing speeches and other pieces there, or if teachers just want their students to be assigned to look at those current issues, those are there as well, and they're broken out in the same format of an overview followed by several different formats of information. So that's going to be one of the great argumentative softwares. And I can certainly come back to that if any of you decide that you do have a question on it. I also wanted to point out Points of View Reference Center, which is right below that one. And it's designed a little bit differently. It is an EBSCO product, so it's going to work a little bit differently, but they do have the browse categories on that first page, just like you saw listed out in opposing viewpoints. So you can see these are broken out by broad topics such as animal welfare, family issues, internet issues, distance learning, hacktivism that you see down here, global issues here, child labor, Northern Ireland, the third world, earth and environment, foreign policy, etc. So this is also a way that they can browse for topics and click and choose. When I clicked on death penalty here, I got another overview of the article. There's also the listen aloud feature where they can actually have the article read aloud to them if that helps them to be able to understand it. Your opposing viewpoints also has the listen aloud feature at the tops of their articles. You will also notice when I first accessed points of view across the top, they have some of the key topics that are in the news currently. And you can also do a direct search here in the top piece. So I'm just going to type in the sanctuary city search just as keywords here. Oops, I spelled it wrong. That would definitely make a difference there. So you can see within these that they also have some articles from separate points of view. This points of view sanctuary cities is where they're getting this information. And if you get a lot of results for a topic, such as, for instance, if we did search just broadly on gun control or social justice or one of those topics, I might get a lot more results. You can also limit there on the left, limit your results by year if you only want the last couple of years, for instance. And then you can limit again by magazines, newspapers, and other formats there on your left-hand side under the source types section. So one question people often ask me is, what is the difference between a PDF full text that you see here on the right and an HTML full text that you see to the left of that? The HTML full text is going to be just the HTML text of the article. The PDF full text, when you click on that option, is going to be a scanned in version of the article as it was published. So you can see that this one was published in Points of View Gun-Free Zones. You see the source on the left. And this is the actual paper. You will notice to your right, that the options for being able to utilize these are going to be to email it. You'll see an email icon on the far right of your screen. They can save these if they create a folder at the top. I'm going to click on folder here. They can create their own folder and save them into the folder. The only danger in that is it is for that one transaction. So it's that one visit to the software. So it's not going to stay in the folder forever. It's only going to stay there while they are searching and using this what am I trying to say, this session of searching. So those are two great places to go for posing viewpoints, pro, con, argumentative types of writing. And then I'm going to move on to our Bloom's literature. I'm going to click on it here, but I am going to also check the chat just to make sure if any of you have any specific questions or current topics you're trying to research or that your students are trying to research that need attention and you would like to ask about, type it in chat anytime and I will make sure I check that. So I'm going to go back out to our slides here for just a moment for you to be able to kind of see some of the key pieces within the slides of Bloom's literature. So this is going to be great to get author backgrounds. It's going to be great to get overviews of different works, different types of works, novels, plays, poetry. It's going to also provide some good resources for how to write about different topics that you see here. And the Shakespeare Center is on the bottom right-hand corner, and I've just kind of blown it up for you to be able to see what is available here. This is a great place to help students that are just getting introduced to Hamlet or Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, Othello. All of his major plays are included in the Shakespeare Center of Bloom's. And what you're going to find when you click on that center is a multimedia guide to all different aspects of Shakespeare poems, plays, some of the performance videos, research and writing advice, etc. So this is a very good way to introduce Shakespeare to your students or have your teachers to utilize it. You can see here the background that's provided about Shakespeare himself, about the stage, about his language, some of the controversy about whether or not he had written all of the works that he is credited for. And you'll also find when you first click in Shakespeare Center that you have an alphabetical listing of the plays, some of the key sonnets. And in that alphabetical listing, you're going to see all of these additional links. So you're going to see an overview, you're going to see difficult passages, key passages, a critical introduction to the play, and then modern criticism on the play. This is also a video that you're going to find that's either going to be a documentary, it might be a play, a live play that was put on in a theater, it might be a television adaptation or a movie adaptation of one of the plays. So that you're going to find those as well. And what's nice about those is you can actually view scene by scene. So if a teacher is just struggling trying to get maybe perhaps a student to understand what's happening in a particular scene, they can kind of show just that piece as well. So this Othello, for instance, here we have critical introduction to Othello, the criticism of Othello, and videos that are related to it. And then what you're also going to see in addition in Bloom's, if you go to Bloom's Literature and browse here, you're going to find all kinds of other information that helps with those authors they may be studying, John Steinbeck, Flannery O'Connor, Maya Angelou, their works, and key characters, you'll see on the left. That middle column, essay topics, literary themes, timelines. So if they're trying to place, what was kind of happening when a particular work was published, those timelines are very useful. And then in the special features that you see indexed there on the right, how to write about, that's where the students are going to be able to get some ideas about how to approach a piece of literature to actually do the writing. So I'm going to escape out of the PowerPoint, go back to our live screen. You're going to see this is the browse that we mentioned here. I'm going to go down into the Shakespeare Center there on our right and click into this and show you again, these are A to Z list of the plays that you see here. Also, you're going to find some of the sonnets as well in that list. This is the background we were pointing out to you there on the right. And I can either just jump right into one of the plays, for instance, Hamlet here. I can look at that overview of Hamlet. And this is going to give me a good background of the play here. It's going to show me some of the key characters and kind of just get my feet wet on something. This is a very good way for teachers to introduce the plays to the students. But notice across the top, I have all of my options of saving to Drive, the read aloud option that we mentioned before, simply getting the citation to be able to cite what I find here. So all of those are conveniently located right across the top of this article. And then if I go back to where I was originally looking here, if I wanted to jump right in and look at some of the critical introduction piece that's looking more at themes and characters and that kind of thing for the play, I've got the themes for Hamlet here. Well, I've got some very good quotes that I might be able to use from literary criticism there. And then even, some of the other aspects like the scriptures and how those are relevant to the play Hamlet. So this is a very good breakdown of the themes, of the structure, of the characters, if there's imagery. So for instance, if a teacher has required a student to maybe highlight and write about the theme of evil in Othello, or to write about a specific theme, these are some really good sources that they can start with there. And then there's additional modern criticism and critical controversies where they're going to be able to find even more updated information there. As we mentioned in opposing viewpoints and points of reference, you also have a direct search at the top. So if you are strictly wanting information on Othello, for instance, if I do a direct search, notice I get all of these tabs across the top of my results. So if I want to break it down from there, perhaps I'm only looking for an image that might be useful for me to add to a PowerPoint session that I'm creating, my slides, or perhaps you do want to see just the videos that are related to that particular play, timelines, criticism, etc. They can go to any of those and be able to easily utilize that information. So that's one of the great things that helps to understand the Shakespeare works and the Shakespeare pieces. You can do an additional search. So if I'm just considered looking at evil in Othello, for instance, I can search directly on key terms and pull up the articles that would have something, a piece there as well. Notice on the right, you can narrow results even more if you're looking for a specific character or essay topics for Othello, or thematic topics, themes, all of those helps are right along the side there as well. So if I go back up to my browse here, notice there are full text literary classics here and full text poems that are available in this database. So if you're wanting students to explore a couple of poems by the same author, by the same poet, you can use those also. If all you want to see are all the videos, notice under the resource list here, you can click on all the videos A to Z, and you're going to see all the different plays, short stories, etc., that are included in this video collection. So we have William Faulkner's The Bear, we have Edgar Allan Poe's Telltale Heart, for instance, there. And if I click on the Telltale Heart, this is from 1958, so it is one of the early productions of the tale that might be good to expose your students to. But what you'll notice is when you click on this, you're going to see a transcript of the video. You can also turn on your closed captioning if you want to be able to see the words as they're being said there. And you also have the option to choose different sections, part 2, 3, 4, etc., within the Telltale Heart, if you're only looking for a certain piece there. So the share that you see at the top is where you can go in and share it out to Google Classroom if you want to place it there, if you want to email a link to yourself or maybe another colleague to be able to easily access it. You can do that as well, all from the top portion of the video. Okay, so I wanted to show you next I think I'm going to show you one more thing in Bloom's before we get too much further from that. They've just recently added these author profiles. So these are going to be some podcasts from authors and author interviews. So if you're interested in sharing any of those with a class or in your library, you're welcome to do that as well. And under curriculum tools, you've got teaching literature through film. You've got different aspects of plagiarism and different key information about writing a research paper, how to choose a topic, etc. So those are some of your writing helps that you'll find in Bloom's. So I'm going to go on into Literary Reference Center here. Again, this is a EBSCO product, so it's going to be laid out a little differently. There are some full text works here as well, but you can see on the left, they've kind of broken out most studied authors, all the works that are available, and their full text classics. When you click on that, you're going to be able to see the Awakening short story. These are all in alphabetical order. So you've got Anna Christie, you've got across the bottom, the different letters that you can sort of jump into there to see, or if you want to browse for something specific, you can browse by title, genre, or locale of these full text literary works. And then you can also see within this database, there's a reference shelf here on the left that has an encyclopedia of literature and a literary glossary. So if you have given them an assignment and you've used a kind of literary term that they're maybe not sure about, they don't really know what it means, they can go here and quickly look up meanings to some of the literary terms. And if I do Encyclopedia of Literature, that is here as well. So if I look up oxymoron and browse, I'm going to be able to get the definition of that, for instance. There is a read aloud feature also here that you see for this listen piece. And if students, again, want to go and do a direct keyword search, maybe Macbeth and blood there, to do a direct key search and then find resources that relate here. For instance, his film adaptation of William Shakespeare's Macbeth here, comparison contrast. So this, you'll notice, is going to be very similar to the look of Points of Reference Center because it has Points of View Reference Center because it has the same software driving it. And then I wanted to take you into the Writer's Reference Center, which is one of those pieces we just added this summer that allows them to see some kind of common, like commonly confused words like lie versus lay, it's versus its, apostrophe s, often confused words, most common punctuation mistakes to kind of help them there if they need to look that up. And then notice across the top, we've got guides to research for different types of writing, planning their research, how to use libraries, searching for topics, a whole grammar and punctuation piece here as well. If they're, having trouble with different types of verbs, for instance, they can quickly look and see how to utilize some of that usage, punctuation kind of piece there. And then also the reference shelf that you find there on the right with a dictionary, thesaurus, a list of cliches, literary and thematic terms again. So they've got another option for being able to look those up. What is an adaptation? If I find an adaptation of Othello, what does that mean? So you can see that this Writer's Reference Center also has a lot of good resources for your high school students as well. So I don't see any questions in the chat, but I will go up to the SmartSearch because I wanted to show you, so far all we've done is gone in and out of separate databases, Bloom's and Literary Reference Center, etc. If you want your students to be able to conduct a search across several, perhaps across Bloom's and across Points of View and others, they can do a direct search through SmartSearch. I'm just going to put Othello and Desdemona as an example. You can see that it's going to be pulling from several different databases. So you'll notice there is an overview here in SmartSearch. SmartSearch itself is not a database. It is an interactive search of other databases. So you'll find this first one on Desdemona and Design is being pulled from the Literary Reference Center database. The second one is being pulled from Bloom's, which I just showed you that. Some of the other ones, they may pull from anything from Credo Reference or another database that we have. Literary Reference Center. Sometimes it might be Middle Search Plus, but you can see that that's kind of a time saver in that they're searching several databases at once, but they're definitely going to get a lot more results. So it's a good idea to show your students how to narrow some of these results on the left using your filters. So if they're only interested in academic journals, for instance, here, or books, they can limit that way. If they want to limit by publication date here on your left, they can, go up and say, I want, only things within the last 19 years. So we only want things that were published from 2000 forward, and that's gotten rid of a couple of thousand there. You will notice that when you go into the full text here again, this is going to be EBSCO software that we're working with. So you'll see that Google Drive option on the right, along with the email feature, the Google Classroom, etc., like we saw when we were in Points of View Reference Center. So I hope that this overview has kind of given you some new ideas, perhaps of things that you can use, that you can show your teachers, or if you are a teacher, if there is something specific there that you feel to be able to share back to the teachers and the students. Hopefully that's some good beginnings for you. I have put up my contact information as the trainer. We have a Discus Office help desk to support you with any questions, or if you have any additional questions there, you're welcome to contact us, and we will be in touch with you. But I thank you all for participating this afternoon, and hope you'll keep track of our current Discus training schedule to see if there are others that would be of interest to you. Thank you.